Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today, we're going to get into one of the most powerful and honestly most counterintuitive ideas from the Lean Startup. It's all about batch size. Now, I know, it sounds a little technical, but trust me, this one simple concept could completely change the way you think about getting things done. So, let's jump right in.
All right, first up, let's talk about what I call the efficiency paradox. See, we all have this built-in gut feeling about what it means to be efficient. But as you're about to see, that feeling can be dead wrong. We're going to challenge it with a really simple, real-world puzzle.
Okay, so here's the setup. Picture this. You've got 100 newsletters, 100 stamps, and 100 envelopes. Your mission is to fold every letter, stuff it, stamp the envelope, and seal it shut. What is the absolute fastest way to get all 100 of them done? Just take a second and think about how you'd tackle it.
Now, I'm willing to bet most of us, myself included, would immediately jump to the method on the left. It feels more organized, right? Do all the folding in one big batch, then all the stamping, then all the stuffing. It's that classic assembly line logic. The other way, doing each envelope one at a time from start to finish, well, it just seems messy, chaotic, and probably way slower.
But here's the twist. The fastest, most effective way to finish the entire job is the second method, one at a time. This is what's known as single-piece flow, or working in a small batch. And the reason why it's better isn't just about raw speed. It's about finding problems before they turn into absolute disasters.
And this right here is the hidden genius of working in small batches. Imagine you spend all that time meticulously folding all 100 letters. Then you go to stuff the very first one, and you realize they don't fit. They're the wrong size. With the large batch approach, you just wasted all that effort. But by working one at a time, you discover that critical error on your very first try, saving yourself from redoing the entire pile.
Now, this isn't just a fun little thought experiment about envelopes. This idea, when applied in the real world, revolutionized one of the biggest industries on the planet. Let's talk about the Toyota way.
So picture Japan right after World War II. Car makers like Toyota were at this massive disadvantage. They didn't have the money to buy the huge, expensive, single-purpose machines that American factories were using to just pump out cars. They were forced to find a different way to compete. And that necessity, well, it turned out to be their greatest strength.
And it led to incredible innovations like the andon cord. Now just think about how completely insane this sounds from a traditional efficiency standpoint. Any single worker on the line can pull a rope and bring the entire factory to a grinding halt. It seems like the exact opposite of being productive. But what it actually does is guarantee that a small quality problem gets found and fixed immediately, right at the source, before it leads to thousands of faulty cars rolling off the line. It's a system that prioritizes learning over just mindlessly producing.
Okay, so let's fast forward to today. In the world of software, the modern version of this is a practice called continuous deployment. You can think of it as a virtual andon cord for writing code. If a developer tries to release a new feature that has a bug, the system doesn't just reject it, it kicks off a whole emergency procedure.
And the real power here is in how disciplined this process is. The bad code is instantly yanked out. The whole team gets an alert, not to point fingers, but so everyone is aware of the problem. And this is the crucial part. Nobody can push any more changes until the root cause of the original error is found and fixed. This forces the team to actually learn and improve the whole system, not just put a Band-Aid on a single mistake.
And you might be thinking, okay, I get it for cars and code, but this principle has a massive impact in fields that have nothing to do with either, from building hardware to, believe it or not, education.
Just look at this timeline from a company called SGW DesignWorks. They were building a complex piece of military hardware, and they went from a simple idea to having 40 production-ready units in just 3.5 weeks. That is blindingly fast, and it's only possible because they work in these tiny, rapid cycles. Design something, get feedback, and iterate again, all in a matter of days, not months or years.
And the same exact logic applies to how we learn. The traditional school system is basically one giant batch, one curriculum designed for an entire year for every single student. But innovative models like the School of One completely flip that. They create daily, personalized playlists of lessons for each student. The batch size is just one day, and that allows for instant feedback and adaptation, making sure every student is getting exactly what they need right when they need it.
So, if small batches are so great, what happens when we ignore this principle? Well, we fall into a trap. It's called the large batch death spiral, and it's a perfect storm of how our good intentions for being efficient can lead to absolute disaster.
It always starts out so innocently. We think, to be efficient,
We should let our experts work without being interrupted, right? So the designer goes off and creates all the drawings. The engineer codes the entire feature. We build up this huge batch of finished work before we hand it off to the next person. But then reality hits. The next person in the chain has questions. There are mistakes that weren't caught. The requirements were unclear. Now the expert who thought they were done is constantly being interrupted to fix problems in their old work, and the person waiting on them is totally blocked. Does any of this sound familiar? And here is the really twisted part. Because those handoffs are so painful and create so much back and forth, our natural instinct is to make the batch even bigger next time. We think, if I can just get more stuff done before I pass it along, maybe we'll have fewer of these painful interruptions. We try to solve the problem by doing the exact thing that's causing it.
And this spiral just keeps going, with the batch getting bigger and bigger until the entire project becomes one enormous monolithic batch. A single, high-stakes, bet-the-company release that's been in the works for months or even years. And at that point, everything is riding on it. Failure is not an option, but it has become terrifyingly likely.
So, how do we escape this spiral? The answer is to completely flip our model of work on its head. We have to stop being pushed by a plan and start being pulled by learning.
In most traditional companies, we use a push system. We make a big, detailed plan up front, and then we just push work through the process according to a schedule, whether the next stage is actually ready for it or not. The lean alternative is a pull system. In a pull system, nothing gets made until the next step down the line actually signals that it needs it.
Now, for a startup or any new project, we have to adapt this idea. The demand signal isn't coming from the next department. For us, the demand comes from our need to learn. The thing that should be pulling work out of our team is an urgent need to test one of our core assumptions, one of our hypotheses about what customers actually want. And what this gives us is a beautifully simple framework for deciding what to do next. Don't start by asking, what can we build? Start by asking, what's the most important thing we need to learn right now? Once you have that question, you work backwards to design the absolute smallest, fastest, simplest experiment you can run to get the answer. That is your next batch. Which brings us to the final critical point. In an environment of high uncertainty, your primary job isn't just to build things or execute a plan. Your job is to learn. Your hypotheses about your customers and your business are what need to be tested. And that need for learning, that is the demand that should pull everything else you do forward.
So I'll leave you with this one question to think about. Take a look at your own work, your own projects. Is your day-to-day work being pushed forward by a plan that someone made weeks or months ago? Or is it being pulled forward by an urgent burning need to learn what your customers truly want and value? The difference between those two is everything. Thanks for watching.